Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today we're going to paint this snowy scene in watercolor, and it's going to be fun. I really enjoyed working on this painting, and at times I wasn't sure if it was going to turn out. If you would like a real-time version of this tutorial, you can find it up now in Critique Club. I will have a link in the video description so you can find it, and I hope you join me over there. I'm starting off with a T-square and a block of watercolor paper. Now I'm using the Hahnemühle The Collection watercolor paper. I would recommend you use a 100% cotton paper that is fairly well sized and robust for this project, because we're going to use masking fluid, and you don't want to put masking fluid on a weak paper or it will tear. So I just wanted to get some vertical lines there to show the edges of buildings, and I wanted to just kind of sketch in, kind of like you're looking down a street of like old, brick buildings and whatnot, like in an old downtown area. I used to have my art studio in downtown Bangor, and I loved it when it just started to snow and it get dark early, and it was Christmassy, and it was just kind of nice and peaceful and pretty. And that's kind of the feeling I'm trying to capture here. Now, I love it when, it's just snowing and it's kind of that warm snow and everything just looks kind of blurry and the snowflakes are really big and fuzzy. And they kind of clump together. That's kind of the effect I'm trying to go for here. I don't want it to feel like a bitterly cold day. I want it to have this kind of ethereal, like first snow of the season where it's, it's just fluffy and still a little warm. You're not freezing walking down the street, that sort of attitude. And I wanted to put some people in this scene, so I'm just sketching in some people. I'm using my Blackwing matte pencil, which was probably the most expensive pencils ever. I bought a box of 12 of them. There was like $25, and because I wanted to see what all the fuss was about on these Blackwing pencils. But these weren't the ones they make the fuss about. Apparently, it's a 602 pencil that people make a fuss about. But this is the softest one Blackwing makes, and I like a soft pencil, so I'm happy that I went with this. And the reason I wanted to go with a soft dark graphite pencil is because this way I don't have to use a lot of pressure to put my marks down, so I'm not going to be denting the paper, and also because I'm going to want some darker lines so I can see what I've sketched once I get a lot of paint on there. And I do intend on putting quite a bit of paint on this painting. So I'm starting off by wetting my paper, and then I'm going to pour a little bit of masking fluid, and I poured too much, you don't need that much, into a little ceramic dish, and I'm using a wet toothbrush to flick it onto the paper. So I'm hoping that by this I can get those soft, fuzzy, clumped together snowflakes. Now it did kind of freak out a little bit because I was getting some pretty big clumps there. So I honestly at this point, I don't know if this is going to turn out or not. I don't know if this is going to end up going in the recycling bin or what. But I also wanted to get the glowing street lamps on the building. So I went ahead and painted those on the wet paper with the masking fluid. And I let the paper set up a little bit, and I splattered some more. That's what I just did there, because I figured I could have some snowflakes that were big and fuzzy and some that were a little bit smaller and crisper. And that's basically what I'm trying. This is my experiment. I let the paper dry completely. That's really important. And now I'm going to go ahead and add some really robust color. Now you can see I've got my Pike palette there, which just has some traditional watercolors on it. But then I've got that little granulating palette that I made a couple months ago. I have a whole blog post on it on my blog, thefrugalcrafter.wordpress.com, so you can see the colors and pigment numbers that I used in case you want to look through your stash and see if you have some granulating color. I wanted to start off with some really strong color in the buildings and the sky. Now I'm working on dry paper, but I'm using really juicy wet paint. So I'm hoping that maybe some of these the paper will be wet enough for some of these colors to have a little bit of texture to them, because really I'm going for that blurry first snow of the season look. Now, part of the reason I associate that kind of first warm snow of the season with being kind of blurry is I hate getting speckles in my glasses, so I often will just go out without glasses on, and I'm sure that kind of probably contributes to the the blurriness that I see. But that's really the feeling that I want to capture with this piece. And as artists, that's what we do. We show other people, we show the muggles how we see the world, right? And so I kind of want to show others how I see the world. That's what we do as artists. I'm using a variety of reddish browny oranges and yellows and blues and violets and these really moody earthy colors to, one, give me a little bit of interest on the paper since I am keeping it pretty loose, and also just to kind of give you those desaturated, muted winter tones. I'm actually recording this on the first day of winter, so it's pretty fitting that that I did a winter painting. This was a request from a Critique Club member as well, so if you'd like to come and see what we do over at Critique Club, I would absolutely love to have you as part of the group. It's $5 a month, and you get access to all the past Critique Club tutorials, and you can also see the past prompts. Every month I post a new creative prompt which you can follow along with, or you can do your own thing, and you can upload up to 2 paintings a month for critique. So you've been working on a painting on your own, you want some feedback, you can post that in the critiques and prompt thread each month and get some feedback on that. But even if you don't want to do that, there are 2 new lessons posted every month, and you can also go back to the older ones and work through those too if you like. So I think it's quite a steal of a deal for $5 a month, and if you'd like to check it out, I will have a link in the video description. I'm going really strong with my colors here. I am trying to put a little bit of detail in the architecture, but not a lot, and I am going by a reference photo that I found on Unsplash by, I think it was Chris White, I think that was the photographer's name, and I'm just trying to keep it pretty. I want it to look like it could be anybody's hometown, basically. That's the look I'm going for. I want this to look like the downtown in your closest city type feeling. For me, it would be downtown Bangor. For other people, it would be, you know, whatever town is closest to you. I want that kind of old downtown feel. Cobblestone, brick, you know, sidewalks or cobblestone streets and, you know, narrow roads and, you know, all of that stuff, old buildings. I did put some lines to suggest like car tracks through the slush, and I'm also putting some nickel titanate yellow here and there to suggest glow from the lampposts and windows. I'm so glad I drew in as dark as I did because I was having trouble seeing different details, but luckily I could still make out where my lampposts were and also where the people were. So I'm going in with some darker paint. I think I used Mars Black here because I was using the colors from my granulating palette, and I just kind of suggested very loosely using a flat brush where those areas were. And I'm using some cerulean blue to kind of hint at like windows and doorways with glass that would have some reflection from the blue sky. So that's just kind of a way to build some atmosphere. Now I find sticking with the flat brushes for as long as I can with this painting really helped me get the architectural feel of it, since I tend to paint more organic subjects such as flowers and landscapes and animals and people. I'm more used to using round brush and painting curvy lines. So using a flat brush really helped me get those more hard, you know, man-made lines in there. So that would be another tip I would offer you if you're not used to painting landscapes. Architecture. I love the way the painting is right here, actually. I love the perspective I have going down the road. Unfortunately, it's gone through goes through a few stages after that, but that point right there, I thought, oh, you know what, that looks pretty good. I kind of like that. But it obviously wasn't done yet. Certainly not where I wanted it, but that's one of those points where it was kind of like, okay, I think I can save this because I haven't taken the masking fluid off yet. So I'm still in that, like, I don't know if this is going to work out or not. But the benefit of that was that I didn't care. I wasn't worried. I wasn't like, well, you know, if this doesn't turn out, I had no white knuckle on the brush feeling. It was just kind of like, well, it either turns out or it doesn't. We're going to see how this thing goes. I'm just going to have fun and I'm just going to splash some paint around. And I really liked the whole process of this. I had a lot of fun painting it. And, you know, I'm really happy with the way it turned out at the end, too. So really push yourself out of your comfort zones from time to time and take a risk. I know it can be a bummer if you do a bunch of paintings and it doesn't turn out the way you want. But, you know, if everything comes out pretty predictably okay, you're not going to be very satisfied with that for long. You gotta stretch yourself. You've got to try different things. Now here I thought, you know, I want that sky darker. It doesn't seem nighttimey enough. So I went in and I did a controlled wash. That's when you kind of tip your paper and you just drag a bead of paint back and forth across an area, and it gives you a nice uniform layer of paint. And I really kind of like that because it did give it that nighttime feeling. However, it did also make those buildings far away down the road feel a little too light. So you adjust one thing in your painting, a lot of times you have to adjust other things. Now here I'm using a rubber cement pickup to remove the masking fluid on my paper, and although it looks a little scary right now watching it back, when I saw this, I'm like, okay, it wasn't too much, it's going to be okay. I was really worried with some of the big puddles of masking fluid that where it spread when I was first applying it, that I would have a problem when I went to remove it. I would just have too much white. But this is definitely not too much. You're going to be able to cope with this, so don't worry if you're having some issues. Now for the lampposts or the little sconces, kind of old-fashioned looking little sconces, what I did was I went with a golden Taklon type synthetic filbert, and I scrubbed at the edges of the masking fluid area so it would give me a soft glow instead of having a hard edge. The edges were pretty soft anyway because I went on wet paper with the masking fluid, but I still had some little bit of hard edges here and there. So using the filbert brush to kind of scrub out a little bit and give me this kind of like pom-pom of light. That's the best way I can think to describe it. It gives me like a soft fuzzy dandelion of light. Then I can drop in my, I used a mixture of, I think I used Indian yellow and goethite, which is very similar to a raw sienna. It's a granulating earthy yellow by Daniel Smith. But go ahead and use raw sienna or yellow ochre even if you don't have that, because we're really not getting the full effect of granulation in this painting because of all the layers. It does give a nice moodiness to it, but I think for the sake of this yellow, it really doesn't matter, just something warm and cozy feeling. And I did that for all of the little lamppost areas. Now I was also thinking that I might do a stand-up lamppost on the side of the road next to that guy in the car on the right. So that's kind of when I came up with that thought that I would add that in. This is a lot of intuitive painting, guys. It's kind of like you get to a stage and you're like, what does it need? What will make it better? What should I get rid of? There's no sacred cows here. You can wipe out anything you don't like. You can paint over anything you don't like. The nice thing about these really earthy colors is that most of them are very liftable. So with the exception of the Prussian blue, pretty much everything on this painting I could scrub back to the white of the paper. Now that's another reason I said go with a nice robust paper, like Arches would be great. Fabriano Artistico would be good. Hahnemuhle the Collection, Canson Heritage, anything that's got a good amount of sizing is going to work well for this. And you want it to be cotton so you're not fighting like uneven dry times as you're working. So at this point, what I'm doing is I'm going in and adding some details. So I've got some really dark color. I think what I used here was a Prussian blue with some either Mars Black, or I might have dipped into my liquid charcoal, which is a product from Renaissance, which is kind of fun to use because you can get this kind of like inky black, but it still feels very like it goes with everything. It doesn't stand out. And I was using that with a liner brush just to go in and add the frame around my lamppost sconces there. And I really like the look of that. Now you probably can see that my snow is really glaring white right now still. At this point I'm thinking, I don't know if I like that. I think I might need to do something about that. So I'm kind of, as I'm painting different portions, I'm thinking about what am I going to do next. It's kind of like playing a game of chess. As you're putting in brush strokes of color, you're thinking, what am I going to do next? Now here you can see I have painted in a lamppost and I'm scrubbing out the area. I'm scrubbing out the fluffy pom-pom where the light's going to go. I think I made it a little big, but you know, so it almost looks a little squat, like it looks like oversized. But I think it's fine. I mean, I'm looking back at the painting right now and it doesn't look too bad to me. I actually have it propped up on the other side of the room because I'm just enjoying it. I mean, heck, maybe I'll hang it up. I rarely hang up my paintings, so maybe I will. And when I adjust something, I generally will kind of like putter around and see if I need to add any of that color anywhere else or balance that color a little bit, especially adding a light spot there. On the other side of the painting, I feel like maybe I need to, you know, refine elsewhere. So that's what I was doing there, adding little lights inside of the lights, adding a brighter yellow little dab on the inside to give it that light bulb look, or candle look, I guess, depending on how old-timey you are. But there are cars in the scene, so I don't think it's all that old-timey, to be honest. I love the neutrals in this palette. It's been really fun to just work with this desaturated, earthy colors. I think the colors I used were cadmium Bordeaux. I did use a little Potter's Pink. I used a lot of Mars Violet, which is a color I just purchased from Turner, from Jerry's Autorama when they had their big sale. I really like that Mars Violet. It's kind of like a brown, just brownish mauve kind of, really. It's really just nice. It makes this really nice eggplant when you mix it with a Prussian blue. And on that sign, I kept it really light, but if you look in the upper left, you can see the sign there. I actually wrote Freezes in there, which is this building downtown in Bangor that used to be this really hoppin' department store, and they have like renovated the building. It's now like a children's museum and apartments and different things like that. But I just kind of like, it's on the wrong side of the street and wrong part of downtown, but I just kind of put it up there just thinking that that would be kind of a little bit of a nod to Bangor. You know, just very, very light. And I don't even have the whole name in there, just the end of it. But I think like anybody that was from Bangor would be like, oh, I wonder if that's, you know, the Freezes building. Which, you know, that's the point of a painting like this, is it's nondescript enough that it could be anybody's downtown. It could be anybody's memory. And I think with art, if you can capture that, it's really nice because it gives more people it gives more people like that gateway into art. It gives more people an ability to enjoy it and maybe want to even, you know, purchase it and have it in their home. So I had an art instructor once, and he said, don't paint your portraits so realistically, keep them vague so that anybody can see themselves in them, in the paintings. It was in a figurative class that I took. And I thought, oh, that makes sense. You know, that way it could be anybody's family at the beach. It could be anybody's, you know, any couple sitting on a park bench, you know, just kind of keeping it vague so that anybody could see themselves in it. It kind of was a good piece of advice as far as like painting sellable art. So take with it for what you will. Now here I'm contending with all of the, I think I'm contending with the snowflakes here at this point. I'm thinking I've got a little bit too much white space here and there. So I was kind of tamping down some of that bright snow and, just seeing how much I wanted to get rid of. I dried the area where I needed to put that detail on the lamppost just so my lines wouldn't feather. So that's a good tip anytime you're you are getting ready to put a detail in and you're not sure if your paper's fully dry, just hit it with your heat tool really quick. Now, keep in mind, I've already removed all my masking fluid. You never want to use heat on top of masking fluid, or you could fuse it to your paper. And also, you don't want to let that masking fluid sit on your paper too long. I am like, if I'm not going to have that masking fluid off in the next day or two, I don't use it because I think, I mean, that stuff reeks. That can't be good to sit on your paper for too long. I think it has like has ammonia in it, so I don't like to have that on my paper too long. So I just plan on, you know, painting it right after I put the masking fluid on. So I did glaze over a lot of the snow to kind of get rid of that glaring bright white. I used cerulean over the sky, so it would just, and actually I used cerulean over a lot of the snow just to give it that kind of like nighttime color. And now I want to put in some more crisp, closer in focus snowflakes. So I am using some white gouache. My camera is a little overexposed here. To make the painting come in, look the way it really looks, I had to boost the contrast here, so I apologize for the bright white palette. So I'm just flicking on some white gouache with a toothbrush. And now I'm using a palette knife and some white gouache. Now don't put it on too thick because it will crack, so you do want to spread it out. So you're just using that palette knife really to scrape it across the texture of your paper. You don't want to leave ridges. It's just going to grab the texture of your watercolor paper and give you that kind of clumpy snow look. I decided to add a stoop to this little building here, to the little suggestion of a door. At first I didn't like it, but then after I defined the steps a little bit, I'm like, okay, that's fine. It's just a little stoop. And again, it's not something that was in the reference photo. I don't know if you'd recognize the scene if you saw the reference photo, but it's, you know, I just kind of thought, oh, I think I want to put some snow on some things. So I just use a palette knife to slap it here and there. I did try putting some on some of the lampposts with a palette knife, but it was just a little too gaumy, so I went in with a brush and was a little bit more careful with the application. You can scrub it off, but you may scrub off paint underneath if you're not careful. So I would say use the palette knife where you're doing snowbanks and more random, messy, globby snow, and where you need to have snow cling to a like the curves of something, use your brush so that you have a little bit more control. And then I put some just little streaky snowdrift lines in the road, and that's pretty much it. I really like how this came out. It was so much fun to paint, and I hope you enjoyed watching this time lapse. And again, if you would like to see a real-time version of this tutorial with step-by-step narration, then check out Critique Club. I'll leave a link in the video description. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy crafting!